The end of BuzzFeed News is a lot more concerning than it appears. When people think of BuzzFeed, they're often reminded of their listicles, such as 25 ways to tell you're a kid of the 90s, or the try guy that cheated on his wife.
My wife.
What most people don't recall is their news division that was trying to have the editorial authority of the New York Times. Their first mistake was calling it BuzzFeed News. Sorry, but it's hard to take a news organization seriously when on the same site I can find riveting content such as this.
What the hell?
While BuzzFeed lacked a serious tone, they were experts on virality and easily digestible content. When they launched their news division in 2011, it was relying on one major assumption: legitimate journalism can be mixed with their traditional viral content formula. They believed that with this mixture, they could challenge legacy media. So off they went and hired an army of youthful, internet-savvy reporters eager to break the next big story.
David said that we're very serious and we're doing incredibly serious journalism. And we do have a long-form section that I'm very proud of. We've just hired foreign correspondents around the world. We are building an investigative journalism team. But things like basset hounds running are very important for the social web.
Their audience was for the new generation that was getting their news from social media feeds instead of reading a newspaper or from a talking head on a cable news program. Having needed to appeal to this younger audience, they would blend somewhat goofy and lighthearted questions to important figures, while also sneaking in some legitimate groundbreaking journalism.
No, but you did look a bit like a dirty hippie with the long hair. Well, it raises the question, did you ever smoke weed?
They broke the internet for getting Barack Obama to use a selfie stick, but they also won a Pulitzer Prize reporting on China's mass detention of Muslims. By utilizing satellite imagery, architectural expertise, and interviews with 24 former prisoners, they identified a vast new infrastructure built by the Chinese government for the mass detention of Muslims. Yet their most popular video is about trying to steal food from a delivery robot. BuzzFeed News was all over the place. It seemed to have a lot of junk, then randomly toss in something groundbreaking. Possibly their most notorious piece being the now discredited Steele dossier. This was a series of allegations of misconduct, conspiracy, and cooperation between Donald Trump's presidential campaign and the government of Russia prior to and during the 2016 election campaign. This provoked his response.
As far as BuzzFeed, which is a failing pile of garbage, writing it, I think they're going to suffer the consequences. They already are.
Turns out he was right. BuzzFeed was failing, and on April 20th, 2023, BuzzFeed announced it would shut down BuzzFeed News as part of a 15% workforce cut. Some argue this dossier was a point of no return for BuzzFeed News. In their eagerness to release the biggest bombshell stories, they often rushed to conclusions without proper evidence or spun narratives that focused on virality over concrete truth. While that's one conclusion, another is that their audience simply doesn't care about the stories they are spending millions on to produce. In contrast, videos of dogs being silly are some of their biggest hits. It's not just BuzzFeed News that experienced this, however. For example, in the New York Times, different revenue sources such as lifestyle content, gaming, and audio are vastly outpacing the revenue growth of their traditional news. Many publications are now using these other sources as a means to subsidize their often unprofitable traditional news. It's partly due to a change in what consumers want, but also because it's much more advertiser-friendly and profitable for these companies. The concerning part is that this shift means that we're going to get less groundbreaking news in the future and be much less aware of the world around us. Charlie Warzel was an early reporter for BuzzFeed News and saw the rise and fall firsthand. In his reflection of his time working there, he described the unofficial mission of the organization: to report on the internet like it was a real place and to tell the stories in the honest, casual tone of the web. He described his job as one that felt fake, not because it wasn't serious work, but because he felt like he was getting away with something. In 2014, BuzzFeed received a $50 million investment from venture capital firm Andreessen Horowitz. Looking back on it, this was their death sentence. New hires were practically a daily occurrence, and quick growth was their target. Andreessen Horowitz general partner Chris Dixon described Buzzfeed as a full-stack startup. In hindsight, it really wasn't. Legitimate news gathering is extremely expensive and does not scale like a traditional tech company. Buzzfeed News had a perpetual growth mindset, even turning down a rumored $500 million acquisition from Disney because they believed that was a lowball offer for what it will become. Charlie was getting away with something. Buzzfeed News wasn't profitable, and their scaling only made it more unprofitable. While the main site had a poor reputation as a click farm, the news division was focused on original stories and wasn't afraid to spend considerable resources to produce it. For one story, Charlie flew to Sweden to get a microchip implanted in his hand. His news pieces were certainly eye-catching, but didn't translate to profit for Buzzfeed. By the time he left in 2019, he learned the dark side of venture capital, that it can be simply a form of gambling. Firms like Andreessen Horowitz bet on 10 companies with the hopes that one of them becomes a unicorn success like Facebook. Regardless of how much technology you utilize, news is a valuable public good, but not a great bet on being the next unicorn. At its peak, Buzzfeed was worth $1.5 billion, but today they have a market cap of less than $80 million. They aren't the only ones to have this spectacular fall from grace. Many of the media companies that emerged in the 2010s that were set to take on the traditional media giants have had similar shrinkage. Vice was once valued at $5.6 billion back in 2017, but is now likely below $3 billion. Vox Media, once valued at $1 billion, has lost at least 25% since then.
Two drunks. Losing money faster than one sober fool ever could.
While BuzzFeed now officially says goodbye to its entire news organization, it's not the first time they've had major layoffs for their journalists. Some have even found humor in it. In 2014, coal mining jobs were experiencing rapid decline due to strict environmental regulations. For many, they were lifelong career miners and had no other transferable skills. Many of these new wave news organizations, including BuzzFeed, were argued to have produced articles that were snobby and simply suggested that these miners learn to code. In 2019, approximately 1,000 journalists were laid off from BuzzFeed and HuffPost, 1 year after a similar set of layoffs from Vox, Vice, and CNN. In a trolling campaign against BuzzFeed News, many Twitter commentators responded to this news by stating, "Learn to code." While the trollish response to Learn to Code was merely light humor at an unfortunate situation, in 2023 it turned to be a grim reality. In a memo to employees, BuzzFeed chief executive Jonah Peretti stated that you'll see AI-inspired content move from an R&D stage to part of our core business, enhancing the quiz experience, informing our brainstorming, and personalizing our content for our audience. This caused BuzzFeed stock to briefly surge 300%, though since then it's lost all those gains, plus an additional 40% loss. So what's next for BuzzFeed? As it's currently looking, bankruptcy. But who knows? Maybe the AI can produce a fun quiz like, what failing news organization are you?